My name is Emily, and I am from New York. Traveling alone had always been thrilling for me, and Kenya had been on my bucket list for years. I wanted to experience its wildlife, rich culture, and warm people. When my plane landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, I felt both excited and nervous. The air smelled different, fresh yet unfamiliar. I grabbed my suitcase and made my way outside, where a driver from my hotel held a sign with my name. The drive to the hotel was smooth, with the city buzzing with life. The streets were filled with people, matatus, local minibuses, and motorbikes weaving through traffic. The driver, Joseph, chatted with me about the best places to visit and warned me to be cautious, especially at night. His words made me a little uneasy, but I assured myself that I would be careful. The hotel was elegant, with a grand entrance and friendly staff. This manager, a middle-aged man named Mark, greeted me personally. "If you need anything, just ask," he said, smiling warmly. I settled into my room, excited about the days ahead. My window overlooked the city skyline, and I felt safe in my cozy space. That evening, I explored a nearby restaurant, trying nyama choma, grilled meat, and ugali, a cornmeal dish. Everything seemed perfect, and I couldn't wait to explore more. However, I had no idea that my trip would take a terrifying turn. The next morning, I woke up early, eager to explore Nairobi. My first stop was the David Sheldrick Elephant Orphanage, where I watched baby elephants being fed. It was heartwarming to see how much care they received. Later, I visited the Giraffe Center, where I fed the gentle Rothschild giraffes. Their long tongues tickled my hands, making me laugh. In the afternoon, I took a boda boda motorbike taxi to the Maasai market. The colors were dazzling, bright fabrics, beaded jewelry, and handmade wooden carvings. I met Aisha, a young vendor who told me about her struggles as a single mother. She was kind and even helped me negotiate better prices. I bought a beautiful Maasai bracelet, feeling connected to the culture. Returning to the hotel, I felt a little deep but happy. As I walked through the lobby, I noticed Mark, the hotel manager, watching me closely. He smiled again, but this time it felt different. Too personal. I brushed off the discomfort, telling myself I was overthinking. That evening, I went down to the hotel restaurant for dinner. As I sat alone, Mark approached my table. "How's your stay so far?" or he asked, pulling out a chair without waiting for an invitation. I forced a polite smile. "It's great. Kenya is beautiful," I replied. Mark leaned closer. "If you want a private tour, I can show you around," he offered. His tone made me uneasy. I quickly declined, saying I had plans. He chuckled, brushing off my rejection. "Well, if you change your mind, let me know," he said, his eyes lingering on me for too long before he left. I hurried back to my room, double-checking the lock. I tried to relax, convincing myself that I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I felt that something was off. Around midnight, I was woken by a soft knocking on my door. I froze. Then, a whisper. "Emily, are you awake?" It was Mark's voice. My heart pounded. Why was he outside my door at this hour? I stayed silent, hoping he would leave. But the knocking continued, growing louder. "I just want to check if you need anything," he said. Fear gripped me. I texted Aisha, telling her what was happening. She replied immediately, "Do not open the door. Call reception." I dialed the front desk, but no one answered. My breathing grew shaky. I moved a chair against the door and waited, heart racing. After a few minutes, the knocking stopped. I barely slept that night, replaying the moment over and over in my mind. The next morning, I confronted the receptionist about the incident. She hesitated before saying, maybe he was just checking if you needed help. Yet I was furious. At midnight, that's not normal. I later spoke to a housekeeper in the hallway. She looked nervous, but whispered, "You are not the first guest this has happened to." My stomach dropped. "Did anyone report him?" I asked. She shook her head. "Most women just leave." I felt sick. If no one had spoken up before, how many others had suffered? In silence. I knew I couldn't ignore this. I had to do something. I gathered my courage and went to Central Police Station to file a report. The officer listened, but seemed uninterested. "Did he touch you?" he asked. "No, but—" I started, but he cut me off. "Then it's not serious." Anger burned inside me. "So you won't do anything?" The officer sighed. "We will look into it." I knew they wouldn't. I left feeling helpless. Back at the hotel, I avoided Mark completely. I stayed out all day, exploring Karura Forest and taking pictures. But I couldn't shake the fear that he might try something again. That night, I returned late. As I reached my door, I felt a presence behind me. Turning slowly, I saw Mark. He smirked. "I was hoping we could talk." I clenched my fists. "There's nothing to talk about," I said firmly. He took a step closer. My breath caught in my throat. "Why are you being so unfriendly?" he said, his voice low. Summoning all my strength, I raised my voice. "If you don't leave, I'll scream." His face darkened. He hesitated, then scoffed. "Suit yourself." He walked away. My hands shook as I locked the door. Enough was enough. The next morning, I called the US Embassy. They listened carefully and advised me to switch hotels immediately. They also recommended contacting a women's rights group in Nairobi. Aisha helped me pack quickly. I moved to a safer hotel near Westlands, a well-guarded area. Finally, I felt a little safer. But I still wanted justice. With the help of a local journalist, I shared my experience anonymously. Within days, the story spread online. Other women came forward, sharing similar stories about Mark. The public backlash forced the hotel to act. Mark was suspended pending an investigation. The hotel manager tried to contact me, but I ignored his calls. I had already decided to leave Kenya earlier than planned. Before my flight, I met Aisha one last time. "You did the right thing," she said, hugging me. "Maybe now more women will speak up." Her words gave me hope. At the airport, I reflected on everything. Kenya was beautiful, but this trip had shown me the harsh realities women face everywhere. I promised myself that I would never stay silent again. Back in New York, I couldn't stop thinking about what happened. I shared my story on social media, hoping it would help other women stay safe. The support was overwhelming. One day, I received a message from Aisha. "Mark was fired," she wrote. Relief washed over me. He wouldn't hurt anyone else. My trip to Kenya had been life-changing, not in the way I expected, but in a way that made me stronger. I had faced fear and fought back, And that, I knew, was a victory.